Hello and welcome to another episode of the Backdoor Cup podcast. We are sitting here today, our full team, with Barry O'Connor, who is just back from Australia, where he was plying his trade in the AFL and the VFL with the Sydney Swans and GWS Giants. We had a conversation that spanned a lot of topics, talking specifically about the AFL and how it compares to the GAA, but we got into the taboo topic of professionalism within the GAA as well. So now, on to the podcast. Barry O'Connor, welcome to the Backdoor Cup podcast.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you on finally. We had to wait till you came home from Oz before we got you on, but the two lads were actually asking me when I was in Australia if we could get you on. They were really excited to hear all about the AFL and hear about Australia as well, I suppose, as a place to live.
Yeah, well, you've obviously experienced a bit of it, so you'll be able to tell them why it's so great as well. But happy to chat about all things AFL and transitioning over and everything around that.
Why are you back?
Why am I back right now? I did 3 years full-time over in Sydney, playing with the Swans, and then gave it another crack last year to try and get back on a professional contract, and didn't quite happen in the end. So I always sort of had in the back of my mind when the AFL chapter closed, I'd love to come back and just play in my club first of all. You would miss it an awful lot, even though, has all its faults and failings, but you really would. So especially being at home playing with your local team, and then just, I guess I haven't been home during the summer in 5 years now, and just spend time with family. Parents aren't getting any younger, so a couple of reasons really, but yeah, obviously a big part of it is to be back home playing a bit of GAA.
Did you play any GAA in Sydney?
I actually played one. I had a cameo in a hurling game the week before I came home because I knew
practice.
So our club in Wexford is we're competing for the senior championship. We're sort of gunning for it every year really, but it's quite a high standard. So I knew that I was going to have to get the hurl in my hand, and I just joined one of the clubs out in Sydney and trained away a couple of times a week. And yeah, I came on. I think there was a Sydney championship. Came on for a few minutes in one of the games. So that was it. But it's certainly not that glamorous. It's about an hour away from Sydney, and I think it was pouring rain that day as well, so it wasn't too much fun.
Winter hurling.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was just muck and slop, but probably suited me. It was a bit slower. Ball wasn't moving as fast.
Get you well prepared for coming home anyway.
Yeah, well,
not that the weather's been any good here. Like.
Well, then the sunny southeast has been alright in the last week or so, but it's just on the standard difference. It's I know it's Club J, but it is a much higher level to what bit of training we were doing out in Sydney. There's a lot of good hurlers out in Sydney and a lot of inter-county boys, but it's just it's played at a more leisurely pace, and
it's more casual.
It's not life and death like it is with your local club and at home. So
that was one thing when I went out and I was chatting to a couple of the GAA clubs out there, and I was asking them about what they were doing S&C wise, and they were saying, well, we do runs of training and we let the boys do whatever they want after that. And some of them will do CrossFit or whatever, but it's just like, it's not the same culture as the GAA here. It's very much like really the way the GAA used to be, where it's a social setting. Sure, you want to win, but you're coming to connect with other Irish people and play with other Irish people and be competitive, but enjoy yourselves. And it's funny because there are inter-county players playing at that standard in Sydney.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I don't think anyone moves out to Sydney to join a GAA club. Like, I know that's an obvious point, but to get guys to play and girls to play, there needs to be the enjoyment factor. And I guess the main reason that people do it is to sort of make friends and have a kind of a community, so to speak. And I guess if you were to the commitment it takes to play club GAA nowadays, it's a huge commitment, and the amount of training and hours of your life you have to give up. They obviously can't do that out in somewhere like Sydney, because there's, people are out there to enjoy their lives and travel and, do other things other than play GAA. But at the same time, it is still great. And, I saw there was finals in New South Wales this weekend. And it did mean an awful lot to the clubs that win, because there's some people that have moved out there 20 years ago and that's their home club now. So you've got a mix of, maybe someone in their 40s or 50s who's coaching the team, who's in tears after winning a county final or whatever. And then there's someone who's been out for a few weeks who doesn't even know his teammates' names. So there's sort of a big range. But look, it's good. It has a good place out there, and I think it plays an important role as well with just Irish people who are involved in the GAA moving over.
What sort of effect does it have when you're out of it, away from Ireland for so long, and then you come back and do you appreciate it a lot more, or what's it like?
You appreciate it, and then there's some things that I guess you're kind of scratching your head being like, geez, I can't believe this is how we do things at home still. Just I guess little things. So some of it is around training methods. I've obviously seen to you guys, you're kind of trying to move it forward in that space, and obviously yourself, Pete, into more of a sports science direction and a not sort of a whatever old school feel and sort of just we need to get the lads fit, let's just go out and flog them for 2 hours and it'll be grand for the weekend, that kind of thing. So but yeah, I think the coming home, look, not a whole lot changes really. Even if I've been away for 4 or 5 years, but not a whole lot has changed. I think it's just about for me, coming home, it's kind of about trying to, you don't want to come back to your home club and change the world, but just trying to implement a few things that are sort of almost bring in a few things that you think might help in the short term, and then I guess these things take a long time to develop. You can't completely change the culture of a team or even a sport in a short space of time. It takes a long time. I feel like, having looked at some of your stuff, it seems to be clicking a little bit in the north of Ireland with football, which is with regard to the training and how lads go about playing their sport and stuff. But I feel like in hurling it's probably still a little bit more old school. Pete, I'm not sure if you feel the same way or whatever.
100%.
Just we're obviously in the thick of championship at the moment, and there's the old classic one where the gym sort of starts to take less of a priority, and you're trying to commit. You're trying to explain that it's not about. The gym isn't just about putting on muscle and getting big and strong. It's actually about stopping yourself from getting injured. So, if you're not, whatever, activating your hamstrings during the week, or if you're not putting some sort of load through them, you won't be able to do it at the weekend, week on week. So things like that, you're trying to, I guess, just trying to slowly kind of integrate. But yeah, I guess, look, you still appreciate all the things that you miss when you're in Australia. Like, I don't have the same love or grow for a club out there that I have for home. Like, I've got, there's 5 or 4 other O'Connor lads that are my first cousins on the St. Martin's team back home. So you're never going to have that. So equally, I do really appreciate that as well.
Is that what you missed most about being in pro sport? Because you told us already, like, the resources and like the facilities that you have at your disposal really make a difference to improving you as an athlete, but maybe you don't have that inherent like graw for the team you're wanting to play for. You're playing for your pro contract. You're playing for it being your profession. Does it become a job?
Oh, it absolutely does, yeah. I think, when everyone moves over initially, and I don't disagree with how they do it. I think every club is trying to build their own culture, and they actually want to get to the place that we're at with the GAA. And in that regard, like, everyone, I've got my best friends and family playing alongside me, so I care so much about them. So AFL clubs are trying to bring that in, but then the unfortunate reality is every year some lads get put on the chopping block and they bring in some new guys to strengthen the team. So, let's say Owen's my teammate, I'm living with him in my first year at the club, and then and this happened to me, like, a couple of my best friends, and then all of a sudden, end of the year, like, you go into your meetings, and you get a phone call, or he comes back home and he's like, "Oh, I've just been cut." Like, I might have seen those lads maybe 2 or 3 times since then. So I think that kind of straightens you up pretty quick. When you get there initially, it's all, because you're starting a contract. I was there for 2 years, and you're young, like, I was 20, 21 going over, and you're sort of, you're just a bit green, like, you're bright eyed, and everything's amazing, and you learn so much in such a short space, and you're doing all these amazing things with, be it with, like, sports psychologists or team bonding, and some of the training that you're exposed to, and you think, oh, this is the best thing ever. I love this club so much, or this is, I can see myself sort of caring in the same way. And then as the year goes on and just the realities hit in, like, and your sport, your games might not be going as well as you hope, and you're not really talking to the coaches as much, and then at the end of the year, then you're sort of panicking about a contract, and then it definitely does become your job, and it becomes, I think for the majority of guys on an AFL list, obviously you see guys on the TV, and it's the same in any pro sport. Like, you see the top 1 or 2%, but the rest of them are just scrapping for contracts and scrapping for life. Like,
does that have an impact on? Does that thought of going, right, I'm in a contract here soon, I need to do something big in the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months to prove myself here? Does that come into your head, or do you try and block it out and just stick to the processes? Like,
it's funny. I guess you could compare it to being out of being on the bench for your county team or whatever, and you're trying to break into the team. It's a big risk to do something like that, because the way I sort of saw it was, if you're in the reserves team, which is the VFL team, it was almost like the moments of brilliance kind of get you noticed to get into the team, and the moments of brilliance get you noticed to get drafted and get picked up in the first place. But if you're in the team, like, you very much have to be just playing your role.
Yeah.
And look, it's to be honest, it's the same with the second team as well. But I found that, if you were just putting in steady average performances week on week, you probably will eventually get rewarded. But I feel like if you go out and have an outstanding game and you show heaps, and you're like, especially if you're younger and you could be a forward and kick 5 or 6 goals, like, then coaches will perk up with that. So it's a tricky one. I was playing as a key defender, which is like a full back, and my job was essentially just to not just to, but a big part of it was just to stop the guy I was on and spoil, like, punch the ball when it comes down on top of you, and it's very, very basic job. So it's kind of hard to get, unless you're taking big marks, like, or having big moments, it's hard to kind of get those moments to get noticed. So I kind of felt at the end of my 3 years I was quite comfortable with doing the defending part, but I wasn't so good at impacting the game massively other than that. And that probably was why I got cut in the end. There's obviously a lot to it, but only the cream of the crop make it. And it's so competitive. So yeah, you do need to have that in your locker, or it's probably not going to work out for you.
First came in to that setup. Just from what I've seen of Irish players going over, it seems to be quite difficult to break in within the first year or two. Is that simply because the physical qualities aren't at the level yet, or is it because the skills of the game just need to develop further, or a bit of both? Probably.
That's a good question. I think the main differences between AFL and GAA is, in terms of the physical quality, it's probably more of an endurance focus in AFL. You're covering, Pete mentioned that Giants covered 18k in a pre-season session when he was out there, and you are covering
for a month.
That's you in a year.
Fuck, I know that shit.
But AFL game, you're on the field for 2 hours. Like, the quarters go on for over half an hour. Now, there are a lot of stoppages, but
there's a lot of stoppages.
Yeah,
it's a commitment to go to a match.
Yeah, it is. Like, I actually, if any of my friends are going, I say, yeah, turn up just for half time there. You'll be fine, because it's such. And if you're going to an AFL game in a stadium, you almost want to be having a few drinks with your friends or something, because it is a very long. I still don't really enjoy watching it that much for a full game, but you're out there for 2 hours. So, like, I noticed early on, like, you'd be cramping quite a bit come 3/4 time, and you obviously have your gels and your pickle juice and stuff like that, but that was the big thing that I needed to adjust. And now I'm probably more of a sort of what do you call, like, a power athlete. Like, my endurance wouldn't have been fantastic, whereas there's other young Irish guys who go out and they're, like, a bit smaller and they're kind of be in a halfback type role, like someone like I don't know, maybe Oisin Mullen. Like, I'm just guessing, I'm sure he's a pretty good runner, like distance runner. Some of the other guys that go out. So I think for me it was probably building the endurance base, but in terms of strength in the gym and strength on the field, it was okay. So to answer your question, it's more to do with the football. Like, the physical side, there's a lot of young Aussie guys who come in who are miles off it physically, but it's like any sport, lads.
Never touched a weight, some of them.
Yeah, honestly, but it's
because they get drafted in at like 18. Some of the young lads, and they've only played schools. Is it?
You see some of the shape of them, like, when they're going through that draft, like, they're just
schools and like, they're from all over the country. So you could have guys from rural country towns, and most of them do get spotted before they get picked up in the AFL. So they're kind of in a good system. And we had some boys at the Swans who were in the Swans Academy beforehand, which a couple of teams have their own academy. The ones outside of Melbourne
has come through Collingwood, hasn't he?
He would have. He was, like, he's down in Melbourne, so I think, like, he was always going to be a footballer. Like, he was kind of there. He would have played with, like, a school team and then kind of another team in Melbourne, but he would have been in and out to the club a bit. But anyway, in Sydney there's a few academies. So the Swans boys, some of them got picked up straight from the Swans Academy, and they were so far ahead of the other first years S&C wise. Like, we were, some of our main, I think we were doing like a front squat at the time, and the boys were like up in the top 5 of the club and like front squatting these young lads. But so yeah, I think, but like, to answer your question, like any sport, like, the skills of the game are number one. Like, I know Or Gaelic football is one of the few that you can kind of get away with not have. You know, you can play a position without. Like, but that's only come in recently. Like, you know, it's like you couldn't. Like, I could be even now. I'm going back to play club hurling. Like, and it's much more difficult to adjust it in club Gaelic football because the skills are just, and same with AFL. It's a completely different ball. Obviously, there's all the skill parts of it, but then there's the tactics and the movement patterns, and it's a professional sport. So you're not coming in to play like at a lower level before building up. You're coming in and you're playing on like
the top players.
Because I spent a lot of my time, my 3 years there, marking a guy called Buddy Franklin, who is one of the best of all time, and I used to have to play on him in training. So you're not, it's.
Baptism of fire.
Yeah,
like if you can handle that, you can handle. You'd be confident taking anyone, would you?
I think like generally everyone. Not everyone, but I think most guys have what it takes to make it and to play, but you just need a lot of things to go right.
You need a lot of luck, because me going in and observing training, I couldn't get over that. Okay, everybody comes into training, both AFL and VFL, but then you have, say, your 40 lads or 50 lads from the AFL squad, maybe with 4 VFL lads that get to train with them that day, and then. Okay, you 10 to 12 lads, you just go down the end of the field there and you train by yourselves. Yeah. And I was looking at it and I was kind of thinking, how do these guys actually impress to get in to train with the AFL? They have to hope almost that somebody gets a niggle and needs to come out and they get subbed in so that they get even an opportunity to get looked at. Yeah. Because the coaches aren't watching that VFL training session. They're watching the AFL training session that's going on simultaneously. So it's almost like you go train with the juniors down the other end of the field, and then if we need you, we'll give you a call and come up for a pro contract. Yeah.
And I guess to add on to that, in the AFL, it's sort of a unique one that you can't like get signed at a random. Like if you're flying in a lower league, they can't just give you a contract. It has to be either before the season. They do have a mid-season draft thing, but it's not many guys go on that. It's sort of it's almost for young lads who kind of took a few months. It took a few months longer to impress like 18, 19-year-olds who missed out on the first draft. But it's really cutthroat. Friend of Pete and one of my best mates who I live with in Sydney, his name is Jack Stafford. He played professional rugby for 6 years before moving out, and we've spoken about it a lot because we've all had similar sort of journeys with pro sport. Whatever. I had 3 years doing it, and he was at 2 different clubs, but ultimately didn't make it, so to speak. And he spoke about, and but everyone has their story about I was almost there, I was in nearly man, or I could have if this coach rated me. But we kind of came to the conclusion that you need 3 things to sort of make it, or to possibly make it. And it's obviously one is to have the ability and to be good enough, which most guys are at some point. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a lot of it is up for interpretation as to who's better than who at that sort of lower levels, and what a coach is looking for too. The other one is you need someone like a coach in your corner, like backing you up. So for my case, I had Ty Kennelly, who was my coach at the Swans when I first got there. Still pretty close with him to this day. He's a great guy, and he was so brilliant to me in the first few months. And then COVID hit and staff cuts came in and Ty lost his job. So all of a sudden you've got this sort of rock and, mentor, like proper mentor figure is gone. Like, and you're sort of, not that, I had good relationships with the other coaches, but they weren't as invested in me as Ty would have been. So you lose that, and then the other thing is you need a big stroke of luck. You need either someone in your position to get injured or to go on a horrible run of form, and you also need to be in form at that time, or, which is a weird one to say, but you need a team to be terrible, or you need a team to be going really badly, so they'll start blooding young guys. So
is pre-season an opportunity to like potentially show that physically you're at a serious level, and they might.
Yeah,
like if you're one of the fastest,
what do you mean by serious?
Fittest, like top 5 in the fitness tests, top 3 speed.
Yeah,
they'd be like, "Fuck."
It's a funny one. On that, I think I might have said this to you. I feel a bit weird.
It's hard when Callum Brown is in the group as
well. Of the Giants, yeah. But this is a weird. I'm not super comfortable saying this because it sounds like I'm bragging or boasting, but it is reality, or it is true. The day I got cut at the Swans, so I was at the end of my 3rd year. I kind of knew the writing was on the wall, but I went in and got the bad news, and then I had a good relationship with the head of football, like the GM and the head coach, and they were. Look, they just said, look, you're just not quite there, kind of thing. But or whether they were trying to make me feel better, I don't know. But they basically pulled up the profiles of all the basically the athletic profile of every footballer on the list, 1 to 45, I think. And basically what the S&C or what the high performance team had done is they sort of use a whole heap of different metrics to kind of rank you on the list. So there was 2K time trial time, and there was like your max speed on the field. There was all your different lifts in the gym, the key indicators. There was like your CMJ score, a few different jumps. I'm not sure exactly what everything was, and I couldn't believe it, but it actually come out as like the number one ranked. It was mainly due to a lot of like the gym stuff. I think they probably tweaked it since to maybe weighted more towards the running side of things, because I wouldn't have had a brilliant time trial time. So like that was me getting cut after like being an Irish guy 3 years 3 years largely interrupted by COVID. So not really that experience. Kind of slowly getting there with quite a good athletic profile for an AFL team, and they're still cutting you. So, maybe another club would value that higher. I know they do value that stuff really highly, but at the end of the day, like it's like
Still comes down
like,
to
and
it,
everyone's training it to sit. Like everyone's
yeah.
when you're like, there's no one that's 50 meters ahead of everyone on every single run. Maybe some of the longer distance stuff, you have a few endurance freaks who are smoking the time trial, but in general, like there's not massive goals between players. So yeah, you could definitely get noticed, but whether it makes a massive difference, I don't know.
Because it just gets you in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Essentially, like everybody's in and around this range. And then after that, like very like appropriate to what Barry just said, it almost comes down to based on feel and then the coach's gut and intuition. And when you're missing that feel for the sport, it's going to be harder. Like take a rugby player, like elite level pro rugby player, and throw them into year inter-county setups. Maybe they could do a job, but like probably not, because they don't have that football brain. They don't know where the ball is going to be. They can't just feel their way out of a scenario on the field, like, and you can't measure that. And that's one thing that I noticed in Oz was they try to measure absolutely everything, but the things that really matter sometimes can't be measured at all. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's like the old GPS. I'm sure you lads use it. I don't think anyone. I'd never, like, maybe when I was younger I would have put more sort of value on it when I was playing in Wexford and stuff. But no one has an argument going up to a coach saying, "Hey, I'm running more than." I just don't think, like, it is obviously very important and stuff. But if you're not supplementing that with, that's the supplement. That's not the main thing. So, like, I might have been able to deadlift.
Can we just clip that part and show that to every manager?
Is that something that has sort of been used for you guys?
At another county, it's very
More
much
so than
right.
club.
We have this tool, let's use it, and it's like a lot of stuff has been based on here's these numbers,
It'll be pulled up.
and you'd be putting it up
After
if you're going right. You're not fucking. Your max speed is 9. You've only hit 8.3 there. Why are you not going flat out? And it's like, right, there's so
3 efforts before that.
but there's
And as well, it's like comparing, like, right, we got maybe 10 points that day. We covered 0.6 less.
Yeah.
we didn't work hard
If
enough.
we had ran more, potentially we could have won that game. And it's like,
You just can't call
It's
it.
like you could be playing against a team who's super passive at the ball, so you're never sprinting. You could be playing. You're back, aren't you?
Yeah.
You could be playing on a fella who's just like standing in there with his hand up, like
Like Moses.
or
McGurn.
Love it.
in some games as well, like there's, like, for example, free kick takers who kick off the ground, might take 30 seconds to a minute over every kick. There could be 10 free kicks. There's nearly 4 or 5 minutes less in a game. It's
contextual,
so
Yeah, you
different.
can talk
Every
about it
game's so
all day,
different.
like, it's not. It's obviously very relevant, but it's just a tool. And one thing I took from the whole experience at the AFL is, like, football and the sport itself will always trump. Like, and I know it's an obvious one. Like, it seems like everyone should know that, but it's just hammered at home.
Yeah.
Because I remember walking out of that meeting that day, being like, I was kind of laughing. I was actually honestly like smiling to myself. I was like, Jesus, like, I was kind of happy because I knew I did, like, everything I could from that perspective, like a training fit, like keeping myself in good nick and pushing myself there. But sometimes it's just not enough. Like,
Yeah.
It gives you a good peace of mind, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
To an
does.
extent.
Yeah,
Like,
and
you've
then
nearly maximised yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
physically,
I never,
and-
like, I really don't like talking in the sort of what if space, or definitely not in the, I was hard done by kind of space. Definitely not. And whether you are or you aren't, it doesn't matter, because it's all hypothetical. Like, it's not. But that was kind of nice to, get given that sort of I can show you. Like we got I think Shane. You know Shane Lahan he's a good mate of mine. He's a strength coach at the Swans. He's from Cork, really good guy. He sent it to me after him. It's just like
performance coach.
Performance coach.
Yeah, he doesn't like strength conditioning anymore. Yeah, he's trying.
Well, he's not conditioning, but he's in the gym. I'll say that to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so yeah, that was nice, but yeah, look, it's so much of his interpretation as well. Like Swans had just lost the grand final in 2022. I wasn't probably deemed ready to play at that level yet, and Swans are going to be probably in the top. They've just finished top of the ladder in the AFL this season, so they're a club that kind of are always competing.
They're always in top 6, really.
Yeah, some clubs will bottom out. Like Richmond Tigers won 3 across 4 years there in 1920, those years, and they're going to come last this year.
It's like the NBA, and then the draft brings players in.
So Richmond are they're
Collingwood, are they going to make a top 8?
No, Collingwood.
They're after winning last year.
So they won last year. They're going to finish 10th, 9th, 10th, 11th this year. Richmond are a great example because they were dominant, like a proper dynasty. I'm sure you saw Dusty Martin clips of that. Like he's just retired. They're losing loads of their stars. They're all getting trades, and they're doing the old the rebuilding now, and it might take them a couple of years to get back up. Hawthorn have just done it with I'm not sure if you obviously heard of Conor Nash, Irish guy. So they were pretty bad for a good few years there. Now all of a sudden they're probably going to make the finals now, kind of out of nowhere. So the Swans aren't really a club that bottoms out and comes back up again. So it's
partly because they have the academy as well. Well, that's what I've been told.
They're a very well run club. Like they've.
But all of the Melbourne teams, the draft almost matters a lot more because they can't bring players in that they've trained up. Is that a factor?
Yeah, it's kind of you're opening a can of worms a bit with that debate.
Well, nobody from Oz is listening to this.
Essentially, Melbourne is where this is hub of the AFL, and the interstate clubs in other places, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide. Some of those clubs have like academies, or especially Sydney and Brisbane because they're not traditional AFL states. So to make them better, they gave them these academies that they could almost handpick players from. And one of my good mates, Errol Gould is his name. He's one of the best players in the competition now, and Swans didn't have to give up much for him. They didn't have to use a draft pick for him. And like these Melbourne clubs are like, oh, this is a joke because he's one of the best players in the competition, and they can just pick him. They just pluck him so they have that. But in general, like it's you were in there one day with the new facilities. They're a really well run club. Like their standards are sky high, and culture's a massive buzzword in Australia, and they're deemed having one of the best cultures in terms of just their training and performance and stuff. So that's probably why they've held those standards for so long. And for someone like myself who's like a young Irish or a rookie, you're obviously you come in as in you're bottom of the list, you're bottom of the pile, like, and it was very hard to break in. Maybe other clubs it might be a little bit easier, but we don't know for sure either. So definitely.
The interesting thing about like all of the Irish players that go over, you almost, because you don't have that football IQ or Aussie rules IQ, you have to be a physical specimen. So all of the lads that do succeed are both one of the best physically in their team, as well as adapting to the sport quite quickly. So it's very like what we were saying. It gets you in the ballpark, but then you just have to roll with the punches and learn the sport as quick as possible. Like as you said, first year is really, really crucial almost to your success. Yeah, and then you can have the choice of, do you want to try and continue to pursue it out there? But at some stage, you probably have to make a decision like, look, I don't want to go with the VFL again because obviously you're not compensated to the same amount that you would be AFL, and you're struggling and you're pushing, and you have to say, is this going to come together this year? Am I really, really confident it's going to happen? Or should I maybe pivot and go with something else? Yeah,
so like the age thing in AFL is massive. Like you're an elder statesman at 24 or 5 almost. Like if you're not in your first team performing and being one of the key cogs in your team, you're not going to be on the list. So
there's some odds that too about the number of players that are over 30 playing as well, is there?
It's probably not many.
Like
I'd say, there probably aren't, but I think it's like the average career length. One of the things we get shown with the AFL PA, like the equivalent to the GPA, they have like a first year sort of player meetup when you get drafted, and it's kind of an educational thing, and they put up like a number on the board. It was like 3.28 or something like that. And they're like, what does this mean, lads? And no one knew. And it was like, oh, that's the average length of an AFL career. And that's how long the average player stays on the list. So like so many guys, even the Swans list I would have been on when I got there in 2019. I don't know now, I'm pure guessing, but like it could be half. I'd say less than half of the guys still there. And that's only a couple of years later. And most, like a lot of the first team players will still stay the same for obvious reasons, but the churn on the rest of the guys is mental. And there's some guys, they're they're on the cusp or they're right there. You can see the potential in them, but then they get cut, and then it's so hard to get back in then because you're going from, like what Pete said, I tried to do the VFL last year with the Giants, but had to work full time. You get paid peanuts, and you're trying to keep up to the standards of AFL full-time players who are in every single day doing all the things we've spoken about, and you're there. Like I was working in a recruitment job in the city, putting on a suit and tie after, like on public transport after training in the morning, and you're sweating and so, and like it's just Grand. And you're sat at a desk all day, so it's like a lot of guys will go and give it a crack, kind of a last hurrah, so to speak, see if they can get back in, and then that doesn't happen. Definitely for me anyway, being an Irish fella, like playing AFL, playing like VFL, the high level wouldn't really fulfill me. Like it's it's just kind of like being an inter-county player in terms of the commitment, and like
there's no
purpose for it. Like I do like the club, the Giants. They're actually really great people there and cool club, and probably will be the team I sort of support now going forward. But like given all that commitment and time and traveling on a plane every 2 weeks to play a match as well, you're just like, if I'm not getting a contract at the end of this, then it's probably not worth.
Yeah.
But when you talk about people being on the cusp and being so close, when I went in with the Giants and talking to the first team players, who I only realised after talking to them how big these names were, they all spoke really highly of you and said like, oh, we miss Big Barry around the place. Like he was really, really close. Like, and you're going to probably poo-poo that and say like, no, I was really far away. But if like they're saying that to me, a fella they don't know, just because I know you, there must be some element of truth in it.
Yeah, well, so what I said earlier about you can't get a contract unless it's either the start of the year or like as in off season or maybe mid season. Like I was going in for that mid season sort of time, and the Giants, I don't really understand the strategies of list management and roster management and stuff, but they opted not to take any players. Like they had a spot they could have taken, but I don't know. I was going well enough, was sort of aiming for that, didn't get it, and then end of the year came, and it's like there's a I'm not that I'm going to dismiss that, but there's hundreds of guys like that, like me, who are
they don't sound like maybe
good. Well, they might say otherwise, but it's not the reality. Like I came in and to the Giants last year, and actually I had my best year of AFL in the 4 years that I played. So ironically, I wasn't a full-time player, but I was still learning the game, so obviously I was going to be better than the year before. And I played in a different position. I played in the midfield where Conor Nash moved to for Hawthorn and is now completely taken off, and he's one of our best players. So I ended up moving into that position and had a really good season last year. But 25, turned 26, end of the year, they're like, oh, I don't know if they would have even spoken about me, but if I was them, I would be like, is he good enough to play AFL midfield? He's 26 next year. Like there's no point in just giving him a contract when we could give it to an 18-year-old who has a bigger, probably a higher ceiling potential wise. So that's probably why I didn't get a chance, or that could be one of the reasons. Plus there's no hard feelings or anything like that. It's you gotta just I have no regrets with that either, because I had a pretty good year. Didn't really leave any stone unturned. Gave up. Like the only alternative was to not work for the season and treat myself as a professional athlete whilst getting paid very little money, living in squalor in Sydney maybe. But yeah, so that was the only alternative. So no, like it's the same in anything in life. You gotta kind of live with some of these decisions that are made. So
how about the transition then into full-time employment then after that? How was that?
Yeah, it was okay. Like I'm still trying to figure that out. What I think a lot of people are trying to figure that out nowadays. What do you want to do with yourself? I was doing a bit of digging on you, or I was looking at your stuff on Instagram, and I think you studied something completely different in college as well.
Engineering.
So I think that's kind of the case with a lot of young people nowadays. But did a business degree in UCD, finished it in Australia, and the business degree was just to doing that in college was just so I could play intercounty football and
Get the grant then.
It was like I was wanting to go to college, but like a business degree, what does that mean? Like, kind of no direction with it at all. It was just like, oh, I like, I'm living in UCD, I'm traveling out to Exeter a few times a week, I'm playing football. That's my priority. Like that's my main thing in life, not college. So it was okay. Like I've actually finished that job now, so I'm sort of bumming it a bit for a couple of months before I go back. But look, it's not something I'm massively concerned about. Transitioning into a job was okay. I'm probably lucky that I did sort of come from Ireland, and I had the challenges of moving to a different country. I think that's a bigger challenge than transitioning back into like a normal life, so to speak. Whereas a lot of Aussie boys who might, they might be held on this pedestal all their life. They get drafted. If it all goes up in flames 4 years in, and then they're like, oh no, I identify myself as an AFL player. Like I'm nothing else, and I don't know what to do with myself. And a lot of them don't have any degrees or any sort of direction after sports. So I kind of, I was pretty aware a year in after a full year of COVID that, okay, this is, I really want to make this work, and I'll do everything I can to make it work, but it might not work out. And I ended up getting a contract extension to do a third year, and then it all finished then. So in terms of transition, like it's obviously I'd rather be playing professional sport, but I'm not. So it's what it is.
Is it hard when you're living with like a top level professional athlete in Helen, your girlfriend, as well? Is that difficult at all ever?
No, I found it has been a really great thing for both of us, because I met her. We only started living together last year when I'd actually finished playing at the Swans. But your first couple of years at an AFL club, you're kind of just putting a house with a few other boys, just share house type thing. And I met her early enough on in my time in Australia, and it was quite nice having someone who understood your lifestyle, and in turn I understood hers. So there was no, like, we both like going out and enjoying ourselves, but just to totally understand if I don't want to go out hell on a Saturday night after her game because I might be playing on a Sunday. Like, so, I want to chill out and eat my pasta at home and put the feet up, and then vice versa, and she'll understand too. And then even, from a general lifestyle point of view, you're trying to, look after yourselves and just live a generally healthy and fit life. And even like little things. I think, I'm not sure if you were playing paddle with us one day in Sydney.
No, I missed that day.
Yeah, but like, she enjoys going to do stuff like that, and like that's what I've always liked doing, playing a bit of sport and having a bit of crack. So it's definitely not difficult, and it's actually it's pretty cool to be living with, well, she's one of the best players in the world at her sport. So it's been quite cool, not from a, like, I don't gain it. I don't get anything from it, but it's just like, it's just cool to see it. It's honestly cool to almost be a witness to it, and how she operates, because she's, she won't mind me saying this, but she doesn't do everything to the letter of the law in terms of like,
she's normal.
Yeah, she's not. She's a normal person. There's no, like, there's no, like, sometimes people think, oh, professional athletes are like, they're monks. They're not. They're not. And I was saying earlier about, the AFL thing as well. There's plenty of going out and socialising that goes on. But I think sometimes at those elite levels of sport, there's sort of a bit of, it's almost like, it's kind of almost a mental thing. It's some people just have that brilliance about them, and have the just, you see it in Gaelic football over the years. Someone like Clifford nowadays, he just has it, like whatever it is. David Connolly, these guys who just have have that extra edge. You can't really describe it.
You can't work your way to it.
Yeah, but
really?
Her career is sort of, it's been defined by a couple of she's had a few really big clutch shots to win games, and she's won a few titles, and like, she's kind of known as a really great pressure player. Like, you can't train that. Like, you can't, I'm sure sports psychologists would probably not like me saying that, but I know you can talk to people about that stuff, but you
can maybe improve it, but it's not going to be innate. It's only innate in some people.
Yeah. So some people have it naturally and others don't. But in terms of living with another, like living with her and her still playing at that level, like it's still a good thing. It's not like there's a massive crossover.
Right,
It's not like
I think,
no,
yeah.
but it's not like I'm going out, you know,
Going home at 4 in the morning.
going out and waking up. I don't think I'm ever going to be like that. So
You don't go out with Jack, so
I'll go out a bit, but
I go out with Jack.
yeah, exactly. We need to get you back over.
It's coming.
But so then, what has she made of the GAA culture since she's kind of started to learn about it?
I think she's taken to it quite well. She went to her first hurling game last week. Camogie, sorry, my sisters play Camogie with the local club. She went to a Camogie game at like 3 o'clock, and then we played senior hurling then in the evening. And my little sister's gone out with Lee Chin, who was at the golf event last week, and funnily enough, the game was against his club. So my first high level or club championship, senior club championship game in 5 or 6 years was against him. So she really enjoyed it. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the country. My cousin Rory is also probably one of the best. I was a bit biased, but one of the best players in the country. So the two of them were kind of having a shootout. So the level was really high for a game, and yeah, definitely taken by the sport. But I think more so the everything else that comes with community GAA. Like, it's pretty cool to like stuff that we would take for granted. Going into the local club in the evening and just kicking around the ball, or going for a puck, or just hanging out, and then you see, it could be like an underage team playing, and you're chatting to the coaches there, and then it's just the way a GAA club works. Really, I think she's been, she definitely seems to have taken to that. But I suppose for her, she similar enough upbringing, and she grew up in rural England, and there's a lot of community sport there as well. So it's not like it's totally alien. Like the Aussie lads, when I brought them over a few years ago, they were like, what's going on? How are these facilities so good and none of you get paid and stuff? And this doesn't make sense. And so
what did they make specifically of the concept of a drinking ban?
Oh, drinking ban. I don't know. I think their whole sort of amazement or amusement comes around the fact that GAA players don't get paid, which is something that you asked me earlier about, the differences and stuff. But that is one thing that I've completely changed my mindset on, having come back to Ireland. I feel so strongly that GAA players need and deserve more. I don't think it's spoken about nearly enough. I think
it's taboo. It's pressure on the club. Don't chat about that.
Oh, but it's not even spoken about by like yourselves,
really.
And they're sort of just in shock. They're like, even this year, I was playing in a Sydney AFL league for half the year, and there's a little bit of money involved in that. And I'm gone home now to play. I've gone home to play with my home club, and first thing I had to do was pay my membership, and they couldn't get over it. Just couldn't. Like, why are you doing that? Like, why would you play if you're not getting paid, kind of thing. So that's the big thing with those guys. Like they just couldn't justify it. Even when all those guys retire from AFL, they'll go back to like country clubs, and some of them will go back and play with their local teams that have made enough money, but a lot of them will go off and they'll get paid $1,000 a game, $2,000 a game to play like in a country footy league, and literally just rock up for the game and leave again. And that's sort of that's the culture there. Whereas,
so that's probably not a good thing as a result of the payment. That side of things, the positive side is like the players that are playing at the top level are compensated for the work that they put into it and the commitment that they make.
Well, there was one. I was actually thinking, I don't really do many of these things like podcasts or anything. But I was was like, what am I going to talk about? There was one thing that I really wanted to speak about, and it was this, because having you come home at Christmas sometimes and home now, and you see the effort that boys put in, and you see, it's almost like it's obviously all the dedication. It's like you're almost serving your county or your club or whatever. Like you're putting yourself out there on the line. I know we all enjoy it in this room. We love training and keeping ourselves fit and healthy, but not everyone does. Like, some people, it's a genuine effort, and for there to be no compensation other than the potential to win a Talton Cup or a club championship, it's
Division 3.
Like, and I know we laughed, but I was in like your shoes playing. Like, we were Wexford, we're Division 4.
We played in Division 4.
Yeah, I've played against Antwerp a few times, but it's hard to kind of wrap my head around now. I'm like, wow, like all that time, and I know we love it, and I know it's like I just like really, really would mean it means so much to me if we could win something with the club this year. Like, I couldn't really put a price on it, but like, still, having said all that, you could play 10 years, 12 years inter-county sport and, cop all the criticism, and your body could be in bits, and at the end of it, they don't need to barely even like sort of say thanks to you, kind of thing. I just think we need to, if we're going to keep pushing like we are with the training and the standards they're never going to go down. Some people are trying to bring in the argument that, you can do less training. That's never going to happen. If we're going to keep going that way, there has to be something done about players being compensated. And it's more of like a well-being space as well. Like, it's like, you guys are fortunate to do what you guys do, which is sort of, and not fortunate because you've chosen to do it and you've sort of set your life up that way. But, I've friends and cousins that, work in Dublin, live in Dublin, they're up and down the road all the time.
I couldn't do
I
that.
couldn't do that.
I couldn't do it.
But that's like, and you couldn't do it because you've gotten used to the other way now. And then
true.
you're like, but in another world, maybe you would have been doing it. And
But I see the other side with the two lads is like the commitment they have to make to their own business now and the building of the brand.
Yeah.
Like, we had the golf event run all day Friday, and then Dara had to go before the final 2 holes because he had to jump in a car, not fed because the food wasn't on time, to go home for club training. Did anyone say thanks for showing up when you came to the club? It's just expected.
I'm not bashing that, but like you could definitely, like, if you didn't show up, they'd be like, "Where the fuck is that?" Like,
he's a work event. Like,
no, but like this lad, he thinks that's more important than us. Kind of thing. And maybe they would, or maybe they wouldn't. Not, I don't know how your club runs, but
100% would have been.
I know that's how a lot of clubs run. And I guess the other thing is the whole, I understand. Charlie Byrne seems to be doing a good job as the president, and he's gave a few great speeches, and he's a big GAA man. But he seems to be, I think he's anti the professionalism side of it. I think I've heard him say that. But if we're against that, then why are we making announcements about Davy Fitzgerald, agreeing to a deal to coach Antrim for 2 years with the option of a third year? That stipulates there's a contract.
I have to pay my own surgery now.
There you go. And it's kind of like, there's no other sport in the world, I think, bar college football until recently, that the coaches get paid and the players get nothing. That was another thing that I explained to the boys, because a lot of AFL, the top AFL players get paid more than the AFL coaches.
Yeah.
So like, they just can't fathom, and it's not like, it's not even like coaches are getting paid a little bit nowadays. They're getting paid a lot. Like, so like surely I'm not. It's another day's conversation. It's a really long and complicated conversation, but there has to be a way that players can start to get a bit more. All they're doing at the moment is giving, and there has to be a bit of take there. There has to be something.
We have, I've definitely seen from like the GPA and stuff, there's definitely more of emphasis on looking after players and stuff like that, but I think it's still a long way away from me go anywhere that direction.
Oh yeah, like I'm coming in from, I'm not really well read on it, and I don't want to go offend anyone by saying there's nothing being done, but like they just I think that should be one of the biggest priorities for the playing group at the moment. Just because the gap, like the AFL professionalism gap compared to the GAA, it's not that big. Like, it really isn't. The differences are in all the sort of, the training is pretty much the same. The differences are in little things like maybe you're training for an extra half an hour because you've got more time, or you're seeing the physios every single day because that's their job, it's your job. Whereas you lads have to, you almost have to, like, if you guys want to go to like a recovery centre, you've got to probably pay for it yourselves. Like, they can definitely make all that more accessible. Even little things like, injuries and getting an MRI, or like, I think one way we could spend the money is maybe putting like an MRI clinic or a clinic in every province that players can go to the day after they rip their hamstring off the bone or something like that, and make it easier, instead of, you forget that lads have to go run rings around Santry and try and get someone to call them, and then trying to get an appointment with a surgeon. Like that stuff is all, like, that baffles me that's like has to be done.
It seems to be mostly being done by the GPA in terms of providing more resources for players. The other way you can leverage your position is by building a personal brand, which you've done. But I think a lot of GA players don't understand that. It kind of scares them a little bit, and they're also probably afraid of tall poppy syndrome, in that, like, if I put myself out there, everybody's gonna rip into me.
I spoke to you about that. Like, we are very well looked after in Antrim, in fairness. Like, in the county board, of like the last couple of years, what they've been looking after is big time. But even still, when you were chatting about the fella who's looking after the AFL, the VFL, all the returning players, did you remember? And you both of you were it's the same sort of thing. Like, because of the load the players are under, the amount of injuries that are happening, the amount of players that they have to try and manage through, but then even we're in a position where we understand it and we can see different people. We get to know different people. It's like, right, I'm going to go outside the group here to get my own stuff done, to look after myself first and foremost, so I can come back and add more to the team. But then it's kind of going, nah, you have to keep it in house here. And you're kind of going, but I want, like, listen, I'm paying it off my own bat. I want to come back so I can play here. And then that's the sort of tough conversation that has to be had as well. Like, but even Richie we spoke to Richie Donnelly about it, like, and he was saying at the end of the day, it's your body. You should be allowed to choose what route you want to go down and all that too, like. So but it's just having those conversations too, like, and having
but I think by paying managers all this money, and I'm not saying every inter-county manager gets paid 80 grand a year or whatever, but it creates this massive power imbalance where, like, you've almost got this, like, don't quote me, this it's like almost like a dictator figure who's able to call all the shots, and they can do it as their full-time job, but then, like, they've almost got you held there, like, and and you obviously know your stuff, you know what's best for you. Like Richie Donnelly said, it's your body, and if you feel like going outside and doing something is better for you, then you should be able to do it. And likewise, even just lads wanting to do things in life outside of inter-county sport, I understand you've got to put in the work, and you've got to be, like, if you're a younger player trying to break in, probably best not to go travelling
in the middle of the season.
Best not to go travelling in October, November when the pre-season sort of starts. But I just think as a whole, like, we just need to change the whole model of an inter-county setup, because we're going to end up losing more and more guys. Like, even I've noticed since I come home, younger guys in my home club, like, the culture changes over time. Like, and there's so much out there now, and it's so easy to hop on a plane and move somewhere, travel somewhere, do something. Like, it's like playing GAA for the love of your county team, your club team, isn't enough to get lads to commit to a long term. Like, as I said, we all really, really enjoy our sport and our fitness and that lifestyle, but not everyone does. So there's got to be something else, because if not, at the end of the day, GAA is a part of, like, Irish culture, and it's a massive help. Like, it gives the economy a huge boost. It's at the All-Ireland final, the hurling final this year. Like, it's, pubs are full. It's great crack. It's like, it's on TV. Everyone's watching it. Everyone's talking about it. It's going viral all over the place. But like, players are getting nothing for it. Like, it's just like Tony Kelly. I know he's probably getting a few deals here and there, but, like, what he's given, but not even declared, but to the GAA, like, that video of him scoring that goal, like, how he's, like, I'm not saying he needs to be, like, taking all the cash, but, like, how he's not benefiting more from that. It just sits really weirdly for me, and like, and that's the top end of it. And then for the poor fellas, it's more of a football thing, but poor fellas who are toiling away in Division 3 and 4 in front of a couple of hundred
and even
people.
that, like, you look at clubs too, like some of the time and energy boys put in the clubs, even club managers, club players, like, it's insane, and they're just not even, they get nothing. Like,
I think the traditionalism is both what makes it great, but also what's going to limit its growth in the future.
I think there's a place for both. I think using the traditionalism argument as the reason why players don't get any. I know there's grants, and I know there's a few things, because there's definitely, I don't know how many listeners or viewers you have, but there's definitely someone listening to this and going, like, this lad doesn't know what he's talking about. The boys do get a lot, and I know the county boards are great, and there's loads of great people in there, but, like, I think saying, we can't, if we bring in money to the GAA, it'll ruin it, there'll be transfers and stuff. Like, there's so many ways you could go about it. Like, not to give you all my ideas, but because I've thought about it so much, like, and like, I don't want to be, like, just talking absolute crap here, but, like, little things like, just close off your squad at the start of the year. Like, not many people join an inter-county squad in the middle of the year now. So you have your squad, and then if you're on a GAA panel or whatever, you get a tax reduction or something at the end of the year. Or you get, like, because you're, you are contributing to
the culture
the Irish
of the country,
society or whatever like that.
then the North comes into play, and we're fucked.
But even just more grants, like bigger grants. If you're on an inter-county set for the whole year, like, get 5 or 10 grand for it. Like, something that you can actually say, okay, well, then maybe I can shift my lifestyle a little bit work-wise. I can maybe work 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And that would mean so much to lads, and that's not professionalism. That's just it's such a big help for players, for basically no difference in the structure and the setup and the makeup of the game. Like,
the argument will be that, sure, some of the players get loads, but that's the exact same issue. It's that's
Yeah.
the lads at the top, the stars
Yeah.
get
Are
loads,
getting loads.
and then your number 16 to 24 to 30. What are they getting?
Division 2,
It's like
3 and
even-
4.
Yeah.
Well, I
What
suppose
are they
like
getting?
You have the thing of like,
Yeah.
even in a squad, you have a certain amount of players, a certain number of players are allowed to get expenses, and then anyone
Yeah.
after that isn't
Yeah.
technically meant to get them unless you're sort of splitting
Yeah.
it between them. Like,
But I guess like you bring in a rule, you know,
squad numbers, as you
squad
said.
number, like AFL's got a squad number, and then you know if you're a rookie or if you play games, you get paid a little bit more. If you don't get paid as much. Like it's you could tier it. Like it's not again
it's
not an
name
excuse. I think to not explore it.
Yeah.
It's an easy thing. Actually, you couldn't do that because of how could you justify paying a Leitrim hurler the same amount as a Dublin footballer? Well, you wouldn't, but you'd sort of tier it, and you could do it. You'd literally, it would be forgetting football. It would be like Division 4 lads get 1 gold coin, Division 3 lads get 2 gold coins, and then and then maybe as the championship goes on, then the further you go, the more maybe you get like, and it's like I'm not saying that would get like obviously there will be issues and there'll be teething problems with it, but I just think it's you boys deserve a bit more. Like easily, like it's not right. And like seeing a lot of people that are close to me, like just giving, and then like Wexford Hurlers, for example, like lost in the quarterfinal this year, devastating. They'll go back to the middle now in November. After it, like they'll play the club season and like they're needed for their clubs. Obviously, now they'll go back to it again in November, December, and start it all again. All for the hope of just having one day. Like that's there's got to be more of a. There's got to be something else that you can fall back on and say, well, look, at least this is benefit me in another way other than.
That's where you're coming in a bit, even with the podcast of like trying to build that brand, and while you're have that sort of some sort of profile, trying to not cash in on it as such, but like use it to your advantage while it's there, like get something out of it. Yeah, 100%.
And that's why we're here. We're trying to change, I suppose, the traditional approach. I didn't think we were going to go down this avenue today, but I'm
glad
don't be
it's
sorry.
fucking quality.
I'm glad we've gone down it, but that's it for today. So thanks a million for coming on, Barry. Thanks to the lads as well. It's the first time we've been all together. Team, yeah. But yeah, great conversation. Really, really enjoyed it. So.
It's quality. Unreal.
Cheers.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.